Alright guys, welcome back to my tier list, fun list. This is my final part of the two-part series for the fun list for Dragon War Within beta. This is the last week we have the beta access. This is the last week of Dragonflight. Thankfully, we're moving to the new expansion next week. Early access, August 22nd. We'll see you guys there. Alright, well, let's just get into it. We're gonna start out with the Frost DK, and we're gonna go from there. Frost DK is going to be in great tier. I'm gonna put it right in front of Marksman actually. Two hero talents, Deathbringer and Rider of the Apocalypse. I did say before I do prefer the Deathbringer talent over the Rider of the Apocalypse, mainly because of Reaper Smart and the way it interacts and the control you have over it. I know exactly where to put Reaper Smart. I know exactly when to push Obliterate to activate Exterminate. That control is vital to me. I like to play that way. That's why I put it ahead of Rider of the Apocalypse. And that said, I'm going to put Unholy right behind Affliction. Now, I didn't show Unholy before, which I'm going to push a clip right now to show you. Sandlane and Rider of the Apocalypse as a hero talent. I do prefer Rider of the Apocalypse over Sandlane, in this case for Unholy, mainly because the Death and Decay aspect that comes from one of the riders is crucial to having your Scourge Strike spread everywhere. Your Epidemics also, is part of your rotation, but it just looks cooler in general. Your gameplay flow is much easier with Rider of the Apocalypse than, in my opinion, Sandlane, which Sandlane is a little bit more RNG where you have to like rely on the Blood Beast to come out for your Vampiric Strikes, which is another layer of RNG behind it. Not to mention that Blood Beast in general, you can't really see it when it pops up because of so much stuff going on your screen. You generally have to have a weak order to track it whenever it does come out. So that aspect of it is off-putting to me. I still like the visuals. I still like the rotation and the simplicity that they made Unholy compared to recent expansions. So it's up there in great. Alright, now moving on to Havoc Demon Hunter. Havoc Demon Hunter is going to be in OK tier, right behind Augmentation, and for one reason and one reason only is because I do not like the momentum build. I do not like Fell Rush being a part of my rotation. And no, I'm not the only one that said this. I know some people that I've played with in the dungeons that have said they don't feel like Havoc is at its full potential because you're rushing straight through enemies, uncontrollable movements at times. I've seen somebody fly off the edge and kill themselves doing this. Not saying I did, I mean, maybe I did, you never know. But that aspect of the gameplay is always bad to me. I've never enjoyed it. I can say the same thing for the Evokers also. I don't like having a deep breath over my enemies. Yes, there's a button to bring it back. There's a talent to do it. That should never be. That part of the gameplay should never existed. And in my opinion, it's off-putting. I do like the thematics. I do like the gameplay gameplay rotation that Havoc has. Besides that, I do like Eldrazi Reaver boosting your glaives as part of its hero talent thematics. Your blade dances, and then you have Fellscar, which boosts your Metamorphosis. It pops Demon Surge and improves pretty much your AoE to uncut potential. So that aspect of it is still good. Alright, moving on to Feral Druid. Feral Druid is going to be bland. Yeah, I did rename Boring to Bland because Boring just sounds a little bit worse for wear. Bland just makes more sense. Now, Feral Druid is not initially bland when you start the spec in the beginning of the dungeon or the beginning of your cooldowns. You push Tiger's Fury along with your Primal Wrath. Oh man, I can't remember the cooldowns. I've just been playing too many specs, I just don't remember any of the cooldown names. Either way, you know what I'm saying. Frenzy or Berserk, I think it's what it's called. Berserk, yeah. You go in there, you pop all those cooldowns right away, and you actually feel like you're playing an actual spec. You have two hero talents, you have Wildstalker and Druid of the Grove. Druid of the Claw, I'm sorry. Druid of the Claw is the one that most people play with, and the ones that I was most recommended to play when I actually did play Feral Druid, and it's the one I went for. So essentially what it is it replaces your Ferocious Bite with Ravage at a chance-to-chance basis based on your combo point generators. And when you hit Ravage, it hits like a truck based on the combo points you have to everything around you. I think it's up to 8 targets or something like that. Yeah, and it feels good to press. However, outside of your cooldowns, outside of all the stuff that you go into battle with, put in combat with, you slow down drastically because at this point in the expansion, you just don't have enough haste to keep up your energy regeneration. Obviously, I will rearrange this tier list as the expansion goes along with how much gear you get. Gear does matter to some of these specs. Some of the stats will scale. So these specs are going to feel a little bit different or better depending on how much gear you have. So Feral, unfortunately, is the one of those specs that suffers greatly without gear. The other hero talents that it has is Wild Stalker, which is based on these Bloodseeker mines that procs on a target at a random chance, random chance again, and then another random chance to have it explode. But visually, you don't really see it happening as you do the Ravage. Ravage, I think, just looks cooler. So that's where I am with Druid right now, Feral Druid. Survival. Alright, Survival we're gonna put right up in amazing. Okay, so Survival, in my opinion, is the best of the 300 specs. The ones that I enjoy the most out of the 300 specs. Both your hero talents, Pack Leader and Sentinel, it plays okay. I mean, Sentinel is still the most used. It's still the better one of the two. You can't get any worse than Pack Leader. I still think Pack Leader is the worst hero talent that Blizzard has put out pretty much since beta. Unless they rework that thing drastically, it will always be the worst, in my opinion. Now, as you know, Hunter has had a rework across all of its specs, and Survival, in my opinion, has gotten the greatest benefit from those reworks. You are now playing around tip of the spear, essentially weaving your abilities with kill command that with either hero talent that you pick. And you have to figure out your priority on what's the most important spell you have to throw out with your tip of the spear stack and what does the most damage at the current time. If it's AoE, obviously you want to use it with the bombs or your explosive shot. If it's single target, obviously you want to do a Mongoose Bite and then your bombs. They changed Coordinated Assault to the atrocity it was in Dragonflight, where you have to have like 2 macros and a video to figure out what in the world is supposed to do with that cooldown, to a very simplified 20% damage increase for you and your fit. Thank you, Blizzard. Thank you, Blizzard. So, thematically, visually, hasn't changed too much. Your cycle of 3 bombs are gone, so it's more simplified. And rotationally, your barrier of entry to the spec has gotten a little easier, because now you actually know that you need to spend your tip stacks and what your priority is in. Once you figure that out, you already know how to play the spec. Alright, next up we got Windwalker. Windwalker is actually kind of an amazing tier also. Windwalker, thematically with Conduit of the Celestials, is by far the most pleasing visual melee DPS class that I've played so far. Well, actually, since I've played everything, it is the best. Yes, that even beats the Retribution Paladin coming up next. Shadowpan is a disgrace to this spec. Why is this hero talent the way it is? I don't know. Ask Blizzard, but Shadowpan deserves so much more. It doesn't fit the name. I don't know what they're doing with this, but who cares when you have Conduit of the Celestials? With the 4 Celestials coming out, wreaking havoc, lowering your cooldowns by a buttload, and you're just in that window when all your Celestials are out, you're actually more spammy than a Fury Warrior. So make of that what you will. I love this spec. I think it's great. I think it's amazing. Alright, coming up next we got the Retribution Paladin, which is going to go an amazing tier. There you go. Both of its hero talents are fantastic. Herald of the Sun and Templar. Both visually amazing, spectacular looking hero talents that Blizzard actually, you know, they know what they're doing with the Paladins, I'll say that. I think it has a theme with the expansion, but maybe I'm wrong. But I like Retribution Paladin for how easy it is, how simple it can be, and how fluid the rotation feels, because really there's no set rotation. You're just clicking the button that lights up. Super easy for beginners to get into. I really, really love this spec. Definitely going to be in my top 4. If Blizzard can address the single target issue, the single target damage issue with this spec, I think it's going to go a lot longer way, because Retribution Paladins in general are so tanky and they're so bursty. All they need is a damage buff on their single target, and this will probably be one of the best specs in the game. Alright, now we move on to some depressing news. Alright, Assassination, I'm going to put right in the OK tier. I'm going to do this all at once. Outlaw Rogue is gonna go behind Shadow Priest, and unfortunately for Subtlety, I'm gonna have to place it right by the BM. Not because I want to, but because of how it plays. Now, Assassination, you have those two hero talents that goes with it, Deathstalker and Fatebound. Deathstalker is the one that's played more. If you look at the other tier list that isn't fun lists, like the ones I'm doing, Assassination's gotta be all the way at the top. Because right now they're overpowered, they're doing a lot of damage, they are insanely, insanely good. If you know how to play the spec correctly. The barrier of entry to this spec is probably in the middle between fairly simple and quite difficult. To me, it took a lot to figure out what I need to do. I don't really like having to tap target Garou in stealth at each target just to get my energy back. That's the only way to get energy back. And I don't really like the mutilate playstyle. I don't really like the stealth. Kind of, just the general rogue gameplay. I'm not a fan. Maybe it's just me. I'm just not really a big fan of the rogues in general. But I have to get credit to where it's due. Assassination is still the best of all the rogue specs, even with Outlaw. Outlaw has Fatebound and Trickster as two of its hero talents. Fatebound is an RNG coin flip, literally a coin flip hero talent that it's basically like Roll the Bones, except it's on top of it. I don't know why this is a thing. Why do you have more RNG on top of RNG for Outlaw when it's already an RNG spec? And then you have the Fatebound coin doing cosmic damage. For out of a random, no reason, doesn't make any sense. I guess it's calling the universe to attack your opponents. I don't know. I don't understand where Blizzard was going with this, but it's there. It's there. I don't know. Outlaw being the easiest of the rogue specs, and your single target turns into your AoE with just Blade Flurry. Super easy to get into. Doesn't really play like a rogue, which is why I give it more of a leeway between, that and Subtlety. I think Outlaw is still not as fun as Assassination for me, in my opinion, even though I hate all the rogue specs, I don't like them. I just think the damage is too good for Assassination for me to actually enjoy anything else when I'm playing rogue. And then for Subtlety, Subtlety is a headache. Oh boy. Your two hero talents is Fatebound and it's Trickster and Deathstalker. I can't remember. Either way, I I don't know what the spec is supposed to be. I didn't really even try to play Subtlety, I'll be honest with you, because of how hard it is. And it's so ironic that I put it in the same category as by far the easiest spec in the game, which is, Beastmaster Hunters. Subtlety has buttons for days, and about 8 or 9 cooldowns that you have to manage. Not only that, but the rotation is convoluted, complex, confusing, to the point where I just gave up with it. Honestly, I just couldn't take it anymore. I kind of just quit on this spec because of how dumb and complex it is. I won't lie, I didn't even try to get into a dungeon with it. I just hit training dummies with this spec, and I'm just like, I give up. This is not fun. I'm just not gonna play it. That's how it was. Alright, now we're gonna go something to. Now we're going to the other specs that are fun. Enhancement Shamans. Enhancement Shamans. It's going to go to the top of Great, right in front of Demonology. Now the only reason for this is because one of their hero talents is very confusing and it's very complex. It's probably one of the harder ones to figure out in the game, which is Totemic. Totemic on its own is a huge mess of confusion and complexity that requires you to take more buttons than you essentially want to play the spec, as opposed to Stormbringer, where you don't even take Ascendance in general. I know there's like 3 different playstyles for enhancement, but I'm just going what it tells me. And other shamans around me, I just say, hey, what's a good build for Stormbringer? And they just link me theirs, and it's the one without Ascendance. And it's fluid, it's smooth, you're just essentially using a Maelstrom weapon stacks on either Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt after a Primordial Wave for AoE, or just Lightning Bolt and Tempest in general on single target, making sure your Lava Lash, your Lava Shock is on your target, and then you just kind of hit Storm Strike. It's very easy to play. It's very simple. And then Totemic, you're just sitting there. It's like, this is so convoluted and so weird. It's just such a night and day difference between those two hero talents for enhancement, which is what's holding it back right now from amazing. It's Totemic. So unless, if Blizzard can figure this out, if Blizzard can kind of just, dial it down a little bit with Totemic, I think enhancement has a great place in Mythic Plus. Alright, now we're going to the Warriors. The last ones. I'm going to put Warriors at the very... Arms Warrior is going to go in the middle of Great Tier. Well, near the end. Arms Warrior has Colossus and Slayer as their hero talents. Now, I did play with Colossus. I didn't play with Slayer too much because I already played Slayer with Fury. Colossus deals with Demolish. A big, humongous, semi-channel, hard-hitting spell that can be buffed with your other spells up to like 5 stacks to do massive damage. Yeah, that spell alone is the reason I would tell anybody to play Arms Warrior, because if you combine that with Sweeping Strikes and your class cooldown, I can't remember what it is. I don't think you take Avatar. It's the other one. I don't remember. Like I said, I played too many specs for me to remember any names. You combine that with your big class cooldown and your trinket, and you're just slaughtering everything around you. It's a hard hitting ability. I think it is the hardest hitting ability. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's so much fun to press the spell. And besides that, all your abilities actually have a massive impact, as in you hit that ability and you just see huge numbers pop up. Each and every ability of Arms Warrior feels like you're doing damage, which is why I like Arms Warrior where it is now. The only reason it's not where it can be, same with Fury Warrior, which by the way is going to be the top of Great Tier. They do share the disadvantage of being a warrior with limited defensive specs, defensive abilities and crowd control abilities, and you're rather squishy as a warrior, which is a little odd because you're a plate wearer. And let's move on to Fury now. Fury has two hero talents, same as everybody else, Mountain Thane and Slayer. Slayer deals a lot more with your Blade Storm, your your Whirlwind, your Executes, and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to Mountain Thane, where you replace Whirlwind with Thunderclap. Thunderclap deals essentially the same thing as Whirlwind, except it's more lightning, and Slayer deals more with Odin's Fury, all the Executes, and all the other swingy APM, cleaves, and everything like that. So, I'm putting Fury a little bit above Arms Warrior at the top of this whole stack because it's super fast paced. There is no downtime. You're going in and out. You're jumping everywhere. You're just a juggernaut of destruction, recklessness, and just all out fun. So, anyway, this is my tier list for my most fun. Remember, this is fun, not necessarily damage. Tier list for the end of the War Within beta going into the War Within Extra expansion. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're going to play going into the War Within, and we only have a few days left. So, we'll see you in the War Within.